ladies and gentlemen, and am I glad to see you all. I now know that if I don't succeed in this job, I can certainly work the cloakroom. So I'm well impressed that you've all got in. This truly has been a mammoth undertaking with all sorts of curveballs, but we've got here. Now, for some of you, this might be the first time in a long time that you've had to make some small talk, but I can assure you that the Hilton is going to look after us well, and we're going to give you plenty to talk about. Soon you'll hear from our sponsors, the Weir Group, as well as the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Later on, we'll hear from Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister, and I'm really delighted to say that in the room shortly we will have John Kerry, the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate Change for the USA, and Kwasi Kwarteng, the Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. But of course, that's not all. You will get to hear from our very own. We've got Tony Danker, our Director General, and Lord Billamoria speaking too. But before we get on to that, I really want to spend just a couple of minutes on why we are here tonight. Because let's face it, this is where it all began. The Scottish Enlightenment started around 1750, and while Edinburgh was often seen as where the intellectuals and the philosophers and, of course, the poets hung out, here in Glasgow, well, it was the engine room of the industrial Britain, where goods came in and where they were shipped out. But let's face it, power consumption that we know today and petrochemicals really came into the fore in the 20th century. In the 1930s, 30% of homes in America had no electricity at all. And for anybody over 40, which there's a few of us tonight, we will know that central heating did not get into most of our homes until the 1980s. Now, there's two things I find truly amazing about that. The first is the sheer amount of infrastructure that had to go in to make it happen. We take for granted the pylons that cut across our hills and dales, the first one erected just down the road at Bonnyfield in Falkirk, and we hardly notice them anymore. The thousands of lampposts that are erected in our towns and cities, and of course, every household in this country, as we've seen in recent weeks, knows they've got a gas meter and an electricity meter. But even more amazing than that is the fact that it was all done before the PC, before mobile phones, before email and attachments. I have this image of our BT friends who are in the room in Centrica, wandering around the countryside in their vans with their blueprints and their street maps and trying to find a phone box to call home when they didn't know where they were going. So we know that we have got a lot to get done, and it's not going to be easy. But the thing that is amazing about all this is the speed that it was done, at breakneck speed, across the world. And most of it was financed by private enterprise. It was private enterprise that was investing, it was private enterprise that was taking risks, and it was private enterprise that was innovating. But of course, government had their role too. In the 1920s, I read that we had so many businesses involved in the electricity market, the government had to take control and set up the national grid in 1926, and I know they're in the room too, and is seen as one of our greatest achievements in infrastructure. So, it's not just about net zero, though, because in this future, we want it to be better. We want better jobs, we want higher wages, and we want a more productive economy. So as the CBI Scotland Director and an alumni of the University of Aberdeen, I want to mention the North East of Scotland, if it's not too controversial. In 50 years, Aberdeen transformed from a university city of granite to Europe's energy capital. Highly productive. And there are now, as we know, many Aberdeen companies all over the world, hugely successful. And the good news is a lot of subsea technologies are transferable to offshore wind, but so are their skills and their knowledge. There are over 180,000 jobs supported by the UK industry. We must harness their knowledge and ask them, how did you do it in 50 years? And how do we do it again across the world, but this time with renewables and even faster? Everyone in this room can help provide the answers and the investment. If governments can sort out the bureaucracy, the regulation and the infrastructure, business will deliver the solutions. Like the Enlightenment, like the Industrial Revolution, human thought and endeavour will power that prosperous net future we all desire. But now I would like to invite Jon Stanton, the CEO of the Weir Group, to come and address you. They are a member we are incredibly proud of, headquartered in Glasgow, and even better, it's their 150th birthday this year. Now, they operate in a critical sector for transition, but also an extremely challenging one to decarbonise. And Jon is going to tell you how they're getting it done. Thank you. Over to you, Jon.
Thank you, Tracy, and good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honour to be here and to sponsor this special CBI event in Weir's home city of Glasgow, particularly in our company's 150th anniversary year. Glasgow has always welcomed the world with open arms. Coming from England, my family and I have felt nothing but warmth here. Although, to be clear, I'm not talking about the climate there. People make Glasgow great, and I hope that never changes. And that's why it's so fitting to be here to talk about how together we can reach net zero. Because we can only do it together. Business, government, capital markets, academia, and citizens. We all know global temperatures are rising and the climate is changing. We all feel public pressure intensifying and time running out. This is now a question of how, not why. Weir, for those who don't know, is an engineering business. That means we solve problems for our customers through innovation and invention every day. And we've put sustainability right at the heart of our strategy, focusing our engineering and R&D resources on technology solutions to climate change. My personal fear, as a father and a business leader, is that we fail to do enough. My 4 daughters are growing up very quickly, although some more quickly than others, to be fair. And by 2050, this might be their problem to solve, but it's not a burden I want to pass on. When they are leaders, I want them to be looking to the future with optimism, not cleaning up the mistakes of the past. Leaving a legacy we can be proud of is what motivates me as a parent and business leader, and I'm sure it's what motivates many of you too. To meet the challenge, we need companies like Weir, alongside broader industry, government and society, to think and act differently. And for me, the focus should be on 3 priorities: partnership, pace and participation. At Weir, we're already taking a far broader partnership approach than ever, both within and outside our industry. Our biggest market is mining, an industry that consumes significant amounts of energy and water, but which produces the metals critical to enabling carbon transition. For example, an electric vehicle requires 4 times more copper than a traditional car. Our industry's challenge, therefore, is to help produce more while using less. So we're supporting the world's biggest miners on their net zero journey. We're also working with partners in other industries to develop solutions for more sustainable mining. Together, we've already delivered energy savings of up to 40%, and we're committed to go even further. Stuck in our own silo, that innovation would have taken years longer. Partnership works, and it requires much more collaboration and an open approach between all of us. Secondly, we must use technology to drive greater pace in innovation. So at Weir, we are doubling R&D spending and deepening our work with the great universities in Scotland and around the world. We're also deploying artificial intelligence to scour tens of millions of research and policy papers for innovations that can be applied in our markets. And we're investing in the next generation of young engineers to broaden our talent pool and tackle society's biggest challenges. And then thirdly, as we speed up, we mustn't leave anyone behind. Only through participation can we build solutions that work for everyone. That's why it's crucial to encourage global entrepreneurialism that's inclusive and share its benefits more broadly and fairly, reversing the growing inequalities that we've seen in recent years. Personally, I want to see more women and girls as part of the solution, and low-income citizens must benefit from net zero technologies, not foot the bill. At Weir, we've given every employee in every country free shares in the company so that they become co-owners of our business with a real stake in our future. And it means we're all driven to deliver better and innovate faster. To me, that's a win-win, and it shows that there needn't be tension between people, profit, and the planet. We also need government to play its part in this. It sets the rules. For companies to succeed, we need to know where we're headed and have confidence in the regulatory frameworks that will enable the journey. Leading a business that operates in over 70 countries, I can tell you that while many of these make it easier to invest, others make it much harder to grow and do the right thing. So my call is for governments to support and reward businesses doing the right things, whether that's investing in innovation, helping people develop their skills, or inspiring creativity and entrepreneurialism. These, to my mind, are some of the most powerful weapons that we have to tackle the challenges of today and tomorrow. And finally, I would urge our stakeholders, including government, investors and regulators, to collaborate more closely to create consistent global standards that business can work with. We need to spend less time filling in forms and more on solving problems. So therein lies the opportunity. With greater partnership, pace and participation, I believe we can meet this moment and we can all play our part. Let me finish with a final observation about Glasgow. In this city, friendship comes with responsibility. In short, Glasgow expects. It is a deeply practical place. As our much-loved comedian Kevin Bridges points out, in Glasgow, you don't ponder why, you demand how. When it comes to climate change, the debate is over. It's not about the why anymore. It's time to demand the how. We need to get on and solve this problem, all of us. And if we do that, we can leave a legacy for our children that everyone can be proud of. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy your evening.